Trey Hendrickson has finally spoken out and said, hey, let's talk to the media here. And there's a few things that have come about. So one, Zach Taylor texted Trey Hendrickson and was like, hey, get your ass to practice or we're going to have some problems. And not in those words exactly. But then Trey Hendrickson winds up showing up.
Hey, you big, beautiful man, get your sweet ass to practice or I'm going to find you.
So Trey Hendrickson spoke to the media for about 23 minutes and basically said that he is not going to be playing this season under this current contract. What wound up happening is they're like, hey, we're going to revisit the contract after the season. He obviously had a really good season, and they have been radio quiet since the draft.
Since February.
Yeah. So they talked, and there was like, hey, like we can there. I think it was a low ball offer, right? And they kind of just didn't want to have like that serious extension. And Trey's like this. I think his comment was, if I had only gotten like a couple of sacks, they would have wanted me to take a pay cut. And so now it's like, hey, it's gotten a little bit more personal for me. He says he has no animosity towards Zach Taylor. He wants to stay in Cincinnati if it's possible, but he is not going to play under this last year of his contract because unless he winds up getting extended. So this is really interesting for a couple of reasons. One, he said he was very happy for T. Higgins and Jamar Chase that they got extended, but the Bengals, they just drafted Stewart right in the first round, going to get their edge rusher, who they got to develop. But in terms of Hendrickson, I think for me, just as a Packers fan, I think that this becomes more interesting because now maybe that availability is more realistic, because if Trey Hendrickson is flat out saying like, I ain't going to play, and the Packers or a team doesn't have to give up a draft pick, that just happened, I think that maybe they move, maybe he gets traded. I think maybe he gets moved in this offseason.
Hopefully the Bengals trade him
to the Green Bay Packers.
It's the only way that this makes any sense is if they trade. Yeah, wherever. It's the only way it makes sense because, all right, first of all, Trey Hendrickson's agent is not a good agent, the nicest way to say it. He is playing in 2025 on this deal because they added a 1-year extension to his last contract back in 2023. So he's in that year of the extension on that last deal. Yeah. He is roughly $10 million under market value for his position, and he was quite literally the best edge rusher last year.
Yeah.
He led the league in sacks, and he was tied second, I think, in pressures at 83 with I think it was Myles Garrett, and he both had 83 pressures. So I've been writing a Trey Hendrickson video since yesterday, and it is just another example of the Bengals front office botching what is a layup situation. The only thing they have going for them is that Trey's 30 years old, right? Yeah. I get not wanting to give him an insanely long,
I agree with that,
lucrative contract.
Yep.
But a 3-year deal for Trey Hendrickson to make him happy, to pay him what he's earned, what he has literally earned. He has outplayed his last deal. He's played on team-friendly money. It's baffling. And if he had like injuries this last year, if his production dipped, you could argue any of those things, but they haven't. And he's their most important player on defense.
Well, I feel like it's a couple, because he just got an extension a couple years ago, right? Because it was this extension that's running through this season.
He got a 1-year extension in 2023. Again, it was odd. It's an odd extension. It was a 1-year extension in 2023 that put him here through 2025. I think it was a bad 1 year. It was a stupid deal.
Yeah, so in 23, so yeah, he's on a 1-year, $21 million contract. So he would be $15.8 million this year, a cap hit of 18.6. So last year he got 14.8 as his base, got a $5 million signing bonus. So he had a cap hit of $20 million. So he was making some pretty darn good money. In 23, you're saying he basically played for $14 million because it was a $6.8 million base and a 5 signing, and then had a roster bonus of 3, cap hit of 15 mil. So yeah, last year he got paid the most amount of money, and then this year he's due a good amount. I feel like for Hendrickson, what you're talking about, though, is like his production obviously is warranted of a contract, but also from just the player perspective, he has to get paid now because of exactly what you just said, right? Yeah. He is a little bit older. This is going to likely be, and this is no shade against Hendrickson, this is likely going to be his last major contract, right? And so if he's not able, if he plays through this year and doesn't ball out again and doesn't have an amazing year, now he's going to be turning, 31 years old?
Yeah, he'll be 31 in December.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be 31 this year. Yeah, so he'll be
1 year older than Myles Garrett. And the Browns paid Myles Garrett a 4-year, $160 million contract. Max Crosby got a 3-year, $106 million extension. And the Bengals have the cap space to do it. That's why this is gets weird. They've got 27 mil right now. They got 60 million next season, putting them at having the 9th most cap space. They can afford to pay Trey Hendrickson, and he is exactly the type of player you just want to pay to keep on your defense because he's the most important player on your defense. He's one of the best in the league at the position, and your defense is dog shit with him on it. So
I feel like it's the 3-year thing, right? Are you going to give him a 3-year deal?
Trey could want 5 years. To be fair to the Bengals, maybe they're asking for years that are crazy. But if the Bengals haven't had such a long track record of doing this, of not, we all thought they were going to mess this up way back in February. But they paid Jamar Chase. They paid T. Higgins. We're like, oh my God, they did pay them both.
They deserve a lot of credit for that.
And then the question became, will they also pay Trey Hendrickson? And I think the answer is no. No, they will not. It feels like they want to force him to play on this 1-year deal because it is very beneficial for them. And then they're willing to let him go after this year.
Yeah.
But they could get nice draft comp if they just trade him now.
Well, that's the question too, right? Because if they wind up trading him after all of this, the hope would have been, all right, well, then you would have gotten the draft capital for the 2025 draft and then being able to use that. That's what I'm saying. Teams might be more likely to be like, hey, we'll give up some draft capital because we're not going to have to worry about that until 2026, and we'll wind up giving him a contract. It also, again, you're 100% correct. And the age, I feel like, is a major factor here in what kind of contract Trey Hendrickson is looking for. Now, as a player, you probably want as many years of guaranteed money as you possibly could get. But if you're looking at 3 years and you're bringing them to at least 35 years old, diminishing returns, right? Yeah. This could be about a team that's ready to go right now that thinks they can plug him in, which I think there are plenty of teams that could use the services of Trey Hendrickson to make their pass rush significantly better. There's a few in the NFC North off the top of my head. Lucian, I actually like this. If the Packers and Broncos play before Christmas, which I have to imagine they're going to, why don't we do that, Perna? So if the Broncos beat the Packers, I will wear a Vikings jersey during the Vikings-Lions stream that I'll be doing on Christmas. If the Packers beat the Broncos, then you have to wear a Chiefs jersey on Chiefs-Broncos Christmas stream.
That's a good bet.
I like
Fair.
that. Like that?
Deal.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're a team like the Lions, I can see them doing this. Like the Packers, I can see them. But again, it's just that mixture of draft capital versus he is going to want to get paid. And I think there's plenty of teams that are willing to do that, especially if you're like, hey, we're one piece away. Bringing in a sack leader would not be the worst thing.
Yeah.
We were both the 7 seed. So
the Bengals, trying to force Trey Hendrickson to play, it's like they believe they have a Super Bowl. They have a chance to get to the Super Bowl this year, and they just don't. Unless their defense is significantly better. And that's hard to believe at this point. I trade him now. I get that extra draft capital to build. And they should have done that before this last draft.
That's what I'm saying.
They should have. They could have had 2 impact players on their defense taken in the first round this year. But they don't know what they're doing. I feel so bad for Bengals fans.
I feel like it's just Bengals fans got through the most challenging aspect because it was like, okay, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, right? They paid them both. And you're like, okay, now it's just time for Trey Hendrickson. And this has just been dragged out for so long. And if Trey Hendrickson hasn't had any contact with the team, it doesn't look good, right? Except for his future. And who knows? Because the issue here is that Trey Hendrickson can't really afford to sit out. Because we've talked about this a number of times, but due to the new CBA, that only punishes the player significantly, and it might not count towards their contract. So the Bengals can be total douche nozzles here and be like, okay, sit out. We're not letting you out of your contract, right? And we're just going to sit here and, you're just going to lose money. So I think for Hendrickson, that's a bit of a problem. And I understand from his perspective, he wants to get paid, based off of the production that he's doing. And it probably is his last major contract. But from the Bengals standpoint, they just gave out a ton of money. They just drafted another edge rusher. And they could use Trey Hendrickson 1 gajillion%, but it's a tough look.
It's a tough look for the Bengals. It's an easy decision. Just pay him. You got the money to do it. And Shamar Stewart's not practicing right now, guys.
He is not. No.
Why?
Because he wants to get paid more money. Yeah, that's
because the Bengals can't even do the basic rookie deals right. They won't even guarantee his injury shit during the fucking rookie mini camps or whatever.
He's doing everything else, though. Stewart's doing everything else. Going to the
yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Go down a fake. For the kidding.
Oh, I feel bad for Bengals fans. You guys will never win a Super Bowl. Ever.
Whoa.
What? Joe Burrow is on the Dan Marino trajectory, guys.
Oh, boy.
I'm sorry.
Here we go. This is a Brandon Perna hot take on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, it's just the writing's on the wall.